Here I am. Welcome to the Lace on Race channel. Guess what? I'm Lace. I'm Lace Watkins, Executive Director of this enterprise crazy ride that we're on called the Lace on Race Center for Racial Equity. It is a whimsical name, but a serious undertaking. I am glad that you're here. If you are new, welcome. If you like what you see, be sure to click subscribe. If you are on the YouTube channel, if you are in any of our other platforms, such as Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or on the website or in the Lace on Race Cafe, make sure that you follow and subscribe there as well. And that way you will make sure that you will get everything that's coming to you. This is the Lace on Race video day. So I am going to be making a lot of videos today and doing what I always do that people don't always think that I do, which is make a lot of videos, but switch out. Switch out the earrings, switch out the top, switch out the hair even. So it looks like I'm doing it on different days, but there has been so much going on. And in my new role as executive director, I am not just a content creator, nor am I just someone who engages on the boards. I am also a boss now, as we have seen. Whether or not I'm a good boss is up to anyone's estimation, but now I'm a boss and an administrator and doing all the things that keep a formal organization running relatively smoothly. I'm also a mentor and a boss to my employees and making sure that they stay comfortable and happy and that we are all together, cleaving to each other. I want to talk about that first. If you are not yet a member of the Lace on Race Bistro, I heartily encourage you to do so. We are going to be making the switch, making the move more and more onto the website and more specifically the bistro. That is where you're going to get the best content, the most challenging content, where you're going to get to mix it up with people of good heart and good intention, and you will be able to learn and grow and engage and teach other people. This is where the community will coalesce. We've been doing a great job of it over the last 3.5 months now since we opened the Lace on Race Cafe. We have been serving up good stuff. My belly thanks you. But there's still more, and you need to be part of it. So if you have not yet registered, make sure that you register. We're going to put the information down here on the links, on the comments, so that you'll make sure that you'll be able to click right over. Unlike what we call the takeout window, the Facebook page, you will need to provide your real name and your mug because we see each other eye to eye. We're not anonymous. That's the way we foment, and that's the way we curate and maintain and nurture real, authentic community in ways not normally seen in other internet spaces when it comes to social justice, social change, and racial justice work. We want to be different. We are new people doing new things in new ways. And one of the ways we want you to be able to be one of these people who are doing new things in new ways is to take that leap and leave your name, leave your picture so that you can be seated in the bistro and also partake of the different dining rooms. We've got millennials, we've got boomers, we've got helping professionals. We have business professionals, we have Black diaspora, BIPOC coming up, Asian communities coming up, clergy coming up, as well, people of faith in general. We want to make sure that we are hitting every demographic. And it is absolutely imperative that you be in there with us. Again, if you have not subscribed, please do. And if you are liking what you're seeing, we want you to stick around. At Lace on Race, we don't believe that your engagement is ever a one and done. We believe that we are embarking on a journey together for the long haul. Part of what we are doing is building our muscles to create resilient and reliable and relentless people whose focus is the North Star. Are you ready? Lessening and mitigating the harm endured by Black and brown people, perpetuated by white people and white supremacy. We believe that we get there through applied relational ethics, and that is achieved through authentic and durable community. Speaking of which, there are a lot of people that go, we don't do very much. As someone who has sweated through a whole lot of dry clean only clothing over the last 2 months, I beg to differ. The interior work that we do here is to build up your muscles and shore up, dare I say, your resiliency and, wait for it, your courage to be able to take what we learn here and take it outside. What we learn here is only of value to the extent that you internalize and apply it. And we're going to be talking about that more and more. We are going to be starting not necessarily turning our backs on what's happened over the last 3 months with Holly and the 2 board members who left, but it is in conjunction with, a complement to, the conversation that we are having and are continuing to have. As I say all the time, everything is fodder, including everything that's happened since the beginning of February, dare I say, since we actually received the papers to become a formal entity. We need to talk about that. We need to talk about how the community has responded to my retirement from the county and Liaison Race being my only profession. And one of the ways that we're going to do that is just revisit some posts with some commentary on top from me. 2021. One of the first things we're going to do is we're going to look at the Vox article from June of 2020. That is, in a nutshell, exactly who we're about. It is going to be required reading. So if you've read it before, I want you to read it again with fresh eyes. And if you haven't read it, I want you to read it. This is exactly not only what we do, but why we do it. And I'm going to make sure that I give you some filler because some things have changed over the last 9 months or so. The Black Spring is over, and whether or not there will be a resurgence of the Black Spring in 2021 is almost irrelevant. What we are hoping for is that the people that onboarded with us, thousands of them during that Black Spring, who have stuck around but have stayed mostly silent and lurking, that you actually poke your heads up and do the work that you signed on to do 9 months ago. And also, in all seriousness, it's time to take our focus not just on Black and Brown people, but also the Asian diaspora as well. We believe here at Liaison Race that anti-Black sentiment is ground zero when it comes to racism and white supremacy, but that it also shows up in other populations as well. What happened in Atlanta a week ago was and is absolutely devastating. No less devastating and no more devastating than the killings and the harm that has been perpetuated all over the place, all of which have their origins in white supremacy. We need to talk about that. We need to talk about what it means to be a durable ally all across populations. And being a durable ally means not just mutual succor, not just mutual clutching of pearls and saying how awful Atlanta was, but to figure out what it means to actually be a co-compatriot and a collaborator and someone who is truly walking shoulder to shoulder and eye to eye with the Asian population. That also includes talking about what happened last month with Holly. That also includes us talking about what it means as white people and as people of color, of whatever ethnicity, Black, Brown, Asian, Native American, what it means to be able to live out our shared common ethos, firmly holding in mind the different challenges and the sensibilities, the acute issues like Atlanta and the chronic issues as well. Here at Liaison Race, we do indeed believe that anybody can talk to anybody, but not in any old way. And that is exactly why we need to take our tools and polish them up and sharpen those edges, not to wound. Not to wound. Participation in or identification with any given ethnic or racial group never gives permission to hurt or to wound. I know that that's not said very often. I'm saying it now. And I am also saying that that is one of the best ways that we can all be in solidarity with each other together as we walk with each other. And we use two metaphors at the same time, as we walk with each other and as we stay in the car with each other, shoulder to shoulder. It matters that I am shoulder to shoulder with Charlene, who is of Korean descent. It matters that I am shoulder to shoulder with Bertie Gutierrez, who is of Latina descent. It matters that I stand shoulder to shoulder with Leonie, who is of Caribbean descent. And it matters that I stay shoulder to shoulder with Maleza, who is of German descent, with Laura, who is of Czechoslovakian descent, with Claire, who is of Irish and Scottish descent. One of the most remarkable and revolutionary and radical things that we say here is that shoulder to shoulder walking, deep relational walking, durable relations and relationships that have parity and mutuality at the core are indeed possible in cross-racial and cross-cultural relationships, and that those durable relationships can indeed generalize and be taken outside. The relationship that I have with Laura absolutely informs her workplace. The relationship that I have with Charlene absolutely affects her work as executive director of Dignified Learning Project. My ability to sit and have, well, in COVID times, have metaphorical coffee or tea with each of them, to be able to speak into each other's lives, should not be a radical act, but it is, and we want to normalize it here. I absolutely understand that that is different in other online and indeed in some offline spaces. I understand exactly why that is necessary. Wait for it, because the answer is almost always the same. It's white supremacy and racism. That is one reason why white women have indeed been discouraged from inserting themselves. For one thing, because most of the relationships or the alliances and the associations that we find in other online spaces and offline spaces are not truly relational. They're not truly shoulder to shoulder. They're not truly eye to eye. They tend to be top down and hierarchical and, dare I say, mirrors of and reflections of the world that we have all collectively decided here that we want to confront and to challenge and to change. And we cannot confront and challenge and change those systems and institutions and assumptions and conventional wisdoms unless we practice here. So we are saying two things at once. Yeah, what we're doing here is different, and for now, in this moment, it may not translate to other spaces, but it definitely translates here. And 20 years from now, when we're all still sitting around my still very crowded kitchen table, I'm working on it, but while we're all sitting around my kitchen table 20 years from now, we are going to be laughing at the idea of what was so revolutionary and radical and outlying is now common and accepted practice. It already is in some spaces. I have been lucky enough to be around flat and round structures where everyone talked to everyone with love, with parity, with mutuality, at least for a time. What those places tended to lack was durability. We've seen that here. I lost Holly after 6 months. Really, I lost her after 3 months. But I lost her after 6 months. Not a week after two of my directors, both white women, signed as signatories for our inaugural documents for the inaugural Lace on Race, they were gone too. So parity and mutuality have the potential for durability and for sustainability and for resilience, but they are not by any means guaranteed. We've seen this in the last 2 months. So one of the things we are going to definitely be working on in 2021 is that resilience, is that resolve, is that reliability, and something else that I am going to insert sometimes around the edges because I'm not sure we're ready to have the full conversation yet, but we're gonna, courage, as opposed to cowardice. We really haven't had that conversation yet because it's a tough conversation to have. Being a reliable and resilient walker demands courage. I almost said demands a measure of courage, like basically like 2 tablespoons worth, but the rest is all the same. No, actually, courage is one of the most ingredients in the soup that we're making. In the soup that we are making that is a direct counter to the soup of racism and white supremacy that we all live in. All of us. Black, Asian, Latin American, white. Every one of us was born into this soup, and there is no one on this planet and no one watching me here right now that has not been affected by it and that has not internalized at least some of it. And how that is acted out or not, how that is confronted and challenged and dismantled or not, has everything to do with the choices that we make. And that's where courage comes in, because to talk about courage is to talk about being willing to risk. And by definition, by being willing to risk, it also means being willing to lose. I can say without arrogance that nobody knows this lesson. Nobody has learned this lesson harder than I have in the last 2 months. So I know a little bit about courage. In the very long thread that we started about 5 days ago, where one of our community members was asking me about how dare I do the ask, and the fact that I was holding the community to account for not Holly herself. She owns her choices, but the community's collective response to Holly. We had a good conversation. It's not done. If I were you, I'd find it. I've got a lot more to say, and I'm saying it later on tonight. But in one of those subthreads, someone asked something that very few of you have asked me, which was, how you doing? How does it feel? How has the last 7 weeks affected you? And one of the things that I said is, I want you to imagine yourself as me in a coliseum alone with 10,000 spectators, half of whom are hostile. The other half consider themselves neutral, and they're just sitting there with popcorn. And then there are a few sprinkled within the crowd who hope I am able to pull it through. But they're not sure I can, but just in case, they're watching. And then there are some who have been with me eye to eye and shoulder to shoulder the whole way. All of whom are waiting to see if I make a misstep in my ethos or my praxis. All of whom are waiting to see whether or not this chick is actually the leader that she says she is actually the woman that she says that she wants to be. It has been hard getting up in the morning and facing each one of you, because as I look out in the stands, as I look at all 10,000 of you, no one is wearing a MAGA hat. If you're listening to me, the odds are low that you own one. No one is flying a stars and bars or don't tread on me. Everyone is probably on the progressive end of the spectrum or left of that. So I can't tell just by looking. Which means I don't know. That means I have to come to you with beginner's mind each and every day. I have to look all 10,000 of you in the eye and assume and hope that you're good actors. Not just that you want me to win, but that you want the community to win, that you think that we're saying something worth hearing that no one else is saying. That we are advancing ideas and an ethos and a method that no one else is giving you or serving you. That you trust in my heart and in my character and in my discernment and in my intellect, enough to stick around. This has been a heartening month. I'm going to do the ask later on, and in that ask, with a different blouse, but in that ask, I am going to talk about the fact that it has been a gratifying response in March as opposed to February. In February, we lost approximately half our revenue, and for the first time since I retired, we had to dip into reserves. We have not hit budget since November, since I retired, but we have always had enough to be able to cover my salary and my health expenses. Last month, we were not able to do that. This month, we're on track. We're not there yet, but we're on track to be able to do that. And let me tell you, that is very gratifying. I don't know if it's going to take another month, another 3 months, another 6 months, another year to be able to get back to funding levels that will allow us to do everything that we set out to do. Fund our community partners, that's already done. Don't even sweat it. To be able to support, yes, to support me, both in salary that I now draw as executive director of Lace on Race, as well as cover my health expenses, and also to be able to continue to build on a reserve that will eventually allow me to hire an assistant here. That would have been Holly, but it wasn't. But to allow me to hire an assistant here in San Diego, that will give me a little bit more breathing room and will also provide a salary and a resume enhancer to a woman of color here in San Diego County. And oh, I cannot tell you how much I want to do that. But I want to bring you back to the Coliseum. When I was getting ready for this video and getting all gussied up, because you better believe I don't wake up like this. And in order to do videos, I gotta look a little good for you. And so that takes a while. Somewhere between 15 minutes and 4 hours. Sorry, it's just too easy. But it does take a little bit of effort. And so during that time, I was thinking about what I wanted to say to you in this introduction. This introduction to the Vox article, and then later on today, I'm going to do an introduction to Terry Real, so that we can do a deep dive into this. A lot of what Terry Real indirectly talks about is indeed courage. The 5 winning strategies are all about courage, speaking out with love and savvy, generosity, cherishing, love at the core, full respect living. That's all courageousness. By now, a lot of you have already figured out my scam, right? That I bring you in on race. And we talk about race a lot. Everything pivots to race. Everything has its origins in white supremacy and racism. And our North Star says that we hit on that and we confront it and we challenge it with an eye towards dismantling it hard. But there is a bait and switch. There absolutely is. Bring you in on race, keep you here on character, keep you here on applied relational ethics, keep you here on being a woman who is holistically resilient and reliable. And if you can do it on issues of race, it will bleed out to every single other area of your life. I guarantee it. Get it in, get it in, get it in, and then live it out. Live it out. Live it out. You know, I reread that Vox article. We're going to make sure we have the link for it in the comments as well. I reread that Vox article because it's been getting some traction today. Someone has decided that they were going to do the pin post methodically. Good for you. And everybody else needs to do that too. But anyway, it popped up. And so I reread the article. And you know what? It's got legs. It holds up. There's a lot in there that is amazingly provocative. And every single time I run that article, we lose members because nobody wants to be talked about as a toddler. No one wants to be talked about as white women being in abusive relationships with people of color, and people of color being in abusive relationships in an internecine kind of way, and white women being in abusive relationships both internally with themselves and with each other. And if we learn healthy ways of relating, that is half the battle. If we learn healthy ways of being in relationship with each other, eye to eye, mutuality and parity at the core. A lot of the things that we worry about and a lot of the things that we clench about just fade away. Just fade away. But yeah, it takes courage, and it takes sharpening those tools, getting the rust off, getting some fine grit sandpaper. And I've, I've got a lot of tools in the workshop that I haven't used for a while. And I was thinking, I need to go to Dixieline and just get all new tools. No, I don't. I need to go and buy some sandpaper for $1.50 at Ace Hardware and shore up the tools I already have. I don't need to spend another $75 on a saw. I need to get the saw I have ready to roll. I don't need a new cultivator. I need to clean and shore up the cultivator I already have. I don't need a new grass spreader. I need to make sure the grass spreader I have is ready. And I need to get down on my hands and knees and start rooting and weeding in ways that no tool, either electrified or manual, can do, because sometimes I am going to need to get my hands dirty and my fingers covered in dirt as I do the excavation around my individual orange tree in the orchard that's outside in my front field that every single one of us has a tree in. We're going to talk more about that too. My laptop is telling me that I am running out of juice, so I think it's time to plug back in, change out my blouse, and come back at you. Get ready for the Vox article and my commentary on top. Get ready to deeply confront everything I said in it, because I stand by every word. By the way, parenthetically, but not really, like I stand by every word I said to Holly and every word I said to Chris and Annie. I don't say a damn thing I can't repeat. And I try to live my life in a way where I don't have to walk it back. Without arrogance. That's courage. And I want that for you and with you. I love you all. Stay tuned.